Thank you so much for being here. As Lydia mentioned, I worked on the impact of part-time work on the student experience. And the main research question we were looking at is, what are undergraduates' perceptions of the impact of their part-time job in their student experience at the LSE? Now, not the emphasis on the word perceptions, because that's something that we could easily measure and quantify. The reason we started looking into this project is because there's plenty of literature looking at both the benefits and the negative impacts of part-time work among students. And we found that there was no available data on the number of students who have a part-time job at the LSE. So we thought this would be something that deserved some attention and deserved to get just a little bit of information on. The methodology that we used to approach this question was both quantitative and qualitative. So the gist of the research is a quantitative analysis based on a survey that was run among undergraduate students at the LSE in the months of February and March. So right before the pandemic kind of hit and started and lockdown measures went into place. You can see to the right the flyer that we shared around the school to get students to respond. On top of that, in the month of June, I conducted 5 in-depth interviews. And just as a note to make, we did not conduct this with probability sampling, and therefore the findings are not representative and are not interpreted for statistical significance. Rather, what we did was looking at the descriptive statistics within this data to just get a picture of the status of the students at the school. What we found very broadly is that overall students don't have a positive perception of the impact of their part-time employment in their experience, but that these differences are most notable when we account for the different pay received among different students. So we looked at our responses based on those students that were making just under £8 an hour, which is just under minimum wage for over 21-year-olds. Then we looked at people who were making between £9 and £12 an hour and people who were making over £13 an hour. And obviously the most notable distinctions were seen on both extremes of the spectrum. So just to bring some of the data up for you to note, 50% of those students who are making less than £8 an hour were perceiving that their grades would improve if they didn't work. 70% of those in the same earning bracket thought that they would prepare better for class if they didn't have to work. This compares to 32% of those making over £13 an hour thinking that their grades would improve. That's nearly a 20-point difference. And 45% of them thinking that they would prepare better for class among those that make over £13 an hour. This also was replicated among questions that refer to their social experience, and very importantly for something that is very relevant at the LSE, and that I would just like for you to take away today, is that 50% of those students who are working for less than £8 an hour reported that they didn't think they would leave the LSE with a strong network after graduation, compared to 19% of those making over £13 an hour. So that's over a 30-point difference. In terms of the interviews we conducted, I also wanted to bring up some of the responses just to give a bit of an illustration of how students are feeling about this. Somebody said that they had to take a month of leave in February in order to manage all of their responsibilities, and they got better grades in all of their essays. Somebody else said that the real challenge with working part-time is that you're dealing with 2 different timetables that don't really know about each other. The first interviewee, once again, said that they don't think the university respects that it's not a choice to work part-time. And a fourth interviewee mentioned that having a part-time job is sometimes perceived as a bit of a taboo topic. Some colleagues of mine, he said, avoid mentioning their jobs to friends that come from wealthier families as they fear social exclusion. I think it would help if LSE acknowledged not only the ethnical diversity of its student body, but also its social diversity. Now, the reason this is important is because as this interview said, it reflects on the diversity of the student body at the LSE. So what can we do to support the students? For one, it's really important that lecturers acknowledge that some students really do have to take on these jobs and take them into account when it comes to managing their schedules and acknowledging their conflicting timetables. And something else that I think it's particularly crucial at this point in time in our history is that a lot of the students really appreciate the jobs that they are able to get on campus. They're very high quality jobs, their managers are very responsive, and they pay well. So what the data that we gather really shows is that the quality of the job that the student has is crucial in order to influence in the way that the student perceives that job to be affecting their schoolwork and their social life. So if there's something that you can do today, please be mindful of this when it comes to managing the budget over the next year and ensuring that these positions are still available for students. Thank you so much.